BMAX Audio Adventure, BJJ365, and I'm really excited to share one of my best friends with you guys. I'm actually here in Las Vegas right now. We're in Henderson, Nevada, on the outskirts of mighty Las Vegas, and I'm sitting at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu with one of my mentors and one of the people that has been just such an incredible impact on my life. This is Casey Halstead. Casey, introduce yourself just briefly. Don't take up all the people's time. They got to drive to work, So don't get crazy. We ain't got time for the whole resume. A little bit about yourself, and then, I don't know, we'll go from there.
All right, my name's Casey Halstead. Basically, I define myself three ways. I'm a husband, a father, and a coach. That's pretty much about it.
That sums it up well. And you're a coach here in Henderson. You're a coach in downtown Las Vegas. You're a coach in California. Tell us a little bit about what you do in the martial arts industry.
Basically, I've found a way to create a living out of martial arts, and one of my driving factors is I fall in love with my students, and since I'm so happy with this lifestyle choice that I've made, I want to continue to create opportunities for the guys that I love, my students, and as a result, I just started opening gyms to accommodate more and more people that I love, to try to get them off of the grid, and somehow I turned into, I think, an entrepreneur in the industry, but it was completely unintentional and not by design, but here we are.
But it's
6
true,
years later, yeah.
But it is true. You're an incredible businessman. You've been very successful. Tell us a little bit about some of the work you do with professional fighters, and then I want to kind of steer that towards something I heard you say the other day about 3 things it takes to have greatness. So Casey's always given these incredible speeches to his team, and I just like to sit here and listen to him. And I heard him start in on one the other day. I was like, wait. I want you to say that on the podcast. So tell us a little bit about what you do, and then let's see if we can kind of segue into that little speech that you were given.
Yeah, well, I try to reduce the definition of self to just a few things. And one of the things that I've evolved into is a coach to fighters and jiu-jitsu athletes. And I think that it's because they can trust my decision-making process, and so I spend a lot of time making sure that that I'm always trying to make the right decisions, and I think that the bonds that we built with certain fighters has helped me kind of carve out a niche in that market. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. You work with people from fighters that are on the actively on the UFC roster. You got people in a lot of other organizations too. What do you think it takes for the average, or no, I shouldn't say average, because the average person can't do that, right? But how do you take the lessons that you've learned watching people rise to greatness in that field and apply it out to your students when you're talking to them, and you see potential in somebody? Just give us something that how can I help that guy rise?
Yeah, I tell everybody that it literally comes down to the first thing you need to realize is that everyone is just a human, and they're dealing with life and struggles and stress and worries. So you kind of need, instead of worrying about all the things that you can't control, you kind of need to just sit back and you need to trust the process. So I tell everybody it comes down to preparation, opportunity, and audacity. So as long as you're in the gym and you're preparing yourself every day and you're trusting the process, that's the preparation. And then you're putting yourself in a position to where opportunities are going to arise. So you got to stay clean. You need to treat people with respect. You need to stay above reproach, and then the opportunities are going to start coming because you're not going to be a liability to an organization.
Yeah, so that's a preparation thing.
Yeah.
Preparing your life, not just preparing yourself as a martial artist or as a fighter or whatever, but preparing yourself as a man to be able to, I guess, to receive those benefits and opportunities when they come to you.
Yep. And then the other thing is in the UFC, you have to take a bad fight in order to get good fights a lot of times. The new guy in is pretty much going to come in on short notice most of the time. So you have to have the audacity to think that you belong there, number one. And I think that comes through handling the previous two, so like if you're in the gym and you're trusting the process and you're preparing the right way, and then the opportunities are coming and those opportunities are leading you to a certain point in your career where the big show calls, and then you have to have the audacity to actually take those opportunities. And I think if you do those things, you can be successful.
Where do you think most, like the average person, where do you think they fall apart on that 3-tier chain there?
It's definitely the preparation, and you kind of like, I mean, I see it all the time. I assign homework to my students all the time at the end of class, and one of them is go sit in front of an office park, leave your phone in your car, and just sit down and observe. And you could just see that we fall into this place of being average, and we're completely content with doing enough to not get fired, doing just enough not to get divorced, doing just enough to not have our kids end up in jail, doing just enough not to get evicted,
not to get a heart attack, whatever.
Yeah. And that is such a bad way to go about life. I'm really fortunate to be 44 and having babies, because as adults, we forget that we can learn. And as adults, we forget that we can evolve and that we're not done and we should be trying to become better. We just kind of fall in this rut. We got a house we don't like, a car we can't afford, and we just get into this really negative space of just underachieving. And that's kind of what corporate culture kind of crushes the outlier anyway. They just want people to be rank and file and just kind of check the boxes and get done. And luckily for me, I'm able to have little babies at home, and I get to watch them learn, and they don't know how to walk, and they fall down and they get up and they try, and they fall down and they get up and they try. And it kind of reminds me that it's not too late for us to learn. So what I would say to directly answer your question is, I think that normal people, they just kind of exist in a place of being mediocre, being average. They don't want to be the worst, but they don't want to be the best. And I would challenge that. And you look at guys like, I don't work with Tony Ferguson anymore, but he's a perfect example of somebody who is obsessed with doing more than his opponent. And that fight, doing more, that's the preparation part.
Do you think he's the kind of, just since we brought him up, he's the kind of guy, even if he didn't have an opponent, would be obsessed with doing more?
Absolutely.
And that's what it really takes, I think. You have to be able to do it without an opponent. Like, make yourself the opponent. You remember that? You remember Mortal Kombat, the game Mortal Kombat, and then they had the real terrible movies. And
yeah.
the final step in the movie to defeat the bad guy was face yourself.
Oh boy,
that was true.
That's some deep stuff.
It was true. It was the worst movie, except I loved it. But that part was true.
Yeah, I vaguely remember the movie. But, yeah, man, I mean, it's integrity. It comes down to, like, what are you doing when no one's looking? And, like, how good do you want to be? And we have to get back to the place, to the mindset where we are a child inside. We're always a child. When you look at relative time to humanity, like, we're babies. And, we are never too old to learn, and we could always pick up a new trade or a new hobby. And we definitely need to shatter that idea that we just gonna ho-hum through life. That's just such a waste. Like, I want every single day to be amazing. And, one of the best ways to do it is just when you're on the freeway, turn the radio off and look around at everybody white-knuckling. And they're on the freeway and they're squeezing their steering wheels and they're hypertension and their heart rate's up and they're super mad. And just calm down and think about going home and being a good dad, and think about, like, grabbing your wife or your husband and telling them that you love them and giving them a hug. Think about being amazing, and don't think about the fact that you can't move in traffic. And I really think that's what separates the outliers from, like, the pack, is that they're
just the first step. It's just the preparation.
Yeah.
I think for me, as I started moving into a place where I was beginning to have success, not just as a grappler, but like as a business owner and stuff like that, it was never the preparation that was my problem. I'm into that. I can do that. The opportunities, as you know, they'll come with preparation. They'll just start showing up. Like Bisping told Cormier last night on the broadcast, after the fact, I was watching it at the hotel, and Cormier said, "I'm the luckiest man alive." And Bisping said, "Well, the harder you work, the luckier you seem to get."
That's amazing.
That's beautiful. And it's true. So the opportunities come. They're a byproduct of the preparation, in my opinion, right? But the audacity, that's a different thing. That's something that you have to, that's something that comes from inside that has to be cultivated, I think.
Think about this for a minute. Think about DC. He's already a champ. He's calling UFC shows every single weekend. He's happily married. He's got amazing children. He's got money now. Like, he did not need to fight Stipe. Like, he was set. But he had the audacity to do it, you know?
And I just believe there's something else still there.
Yeah. And you know, it's like, I just think that it's funny that we're talking about this right now, because if you don't have the audacity, so like, if you don't prepare, you're not going to have opportunities. But if you don't have audacity, you can't capitalize on the opportunities. And you need to be willing to get hurt. You need to be willing to fail. You know, my wife, there's a book that she has, I can't remember the author, and she hands it to me every once in a while, and it's Dare to Fail. And, you know, she'll challenge me when I leave the house. She goes, "I want you to fail 30 times today. Go find a way to fail today." And it's really weird to see such a successful person like my wife who's telling me to go fail. And it's just her just trying to get me to get out of my comfort zone and create and be vulnerable and take opportunities and have the audacity to believe that I can do it. And once I started to really, like, I don't care about failing anymore. Like, you know, we've got business ventures that we've done together, and we just ante up the money, and, you know, we try hard, and if it works, it works, and it was great, and if not, hey, we learned, you know, and that's just kind of how I go through life now. You know, I do have like a way more stringent vetting process nowadays than I did before, but, you know, I'm still going to take some risks.
I think that's smart. And that's something that I tell the students at our school all the time, is that, you know, the only ingredients to success are time and failure. Like, when we show up to the gym, our job's not to win, our job's to accumulate failure. And if you can put together enough failures, you will find successes on the other side of it. But it's not going to happen without the failure, and without the gambling of your emotion and the gambling of yourself. And that's what audacity really is. I'm going to gamble this thing that I need, this ego that I need, this good feeling about myself right here. I'm going to gamble it for the chance that something great could be on the other side.
Yeah, and not only that, but like, I even reduce it even further than greatness. Now I'm looking at it like, I don't have to succeed so I'm gonna gamble, I'm gonna dare to fail, and no matter what happens, whether the business succeeds or fails, whether the outcome of whatever the situation is a success or a failure, the real sweet spot happens in the experience, because all experiences are great. And, you know, it's just, you have to get out there and live, man. It all comes down to being mediocre. You don't want that. You want to get out, and you want to put yourself out there, stay, you know. And so for me, the result is pretty much, it's better to win than to lose. It feels better. But at the end of the day, these little wins and losses that are happening on a daily basis, they're not going to matter. The thing that's going to matter is how you lived your life, and what you did when you won, and what you did when you lost. And that's the real magic right there. So I don't focus on the winning and the losing as much anymore. I focus on the preparation. If you do it this way, we can see that over time, these guys have been successful doing it this way. So you can trust that. But if you're just focused on just winning only, then you're going to lose a lot of the opportunity, you know? Like, you know, in an MMA fight, 2 guys enter, guaranteed, well, 99.9% of the time, one of them is going to lose. You know, so if you're focusing on the winning and the losing only, then you're losing the whole the whole point of this. The point of this is just to challenge yourself and grow and learn, because guess what? You're gonna lose a fight. Period.
And that analogy carries over into business. It carries over into relationships. It carries over into really everything. And that's why you're so awesome, Coach. That was a high five, just happened right over the mic, in case y'all didn't pick up on that. So, listen, guys, I need you to go to my website. It's www.brandonmc.ninja. $5 a month, all of my classes, seminars, etc. And we're newly sponsored by Toe Hold, the dopest flip-flops in the game.
Oh, boy.
Customized, personalized. And when I say we're sponsored, I don't mean that I'm going to get a bunch of money from him. That's not what I mean. What I mean is we're going to give the listeners, we're going to give away a free pair of these incredible handmade leather flip-flops every month, plus some other cool stuff from him too. There'll be more information coming on how to make that happen soon, but we want to turn around and give that sponsorship back to you, because I'm grateful that you even listen or care. So remember, I love you guys, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow.